Hi all, welcome back to the Transcending Humanity podcast. Today we are going to be returning to our series on trans joy. I'm Erica Vogel, your favorite Erica, I'm sure. And I'm here with Jess, Mel, and Rylie. Do you guys mind introducing yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. So I'm Jess, back on the podcast again. My pronouns are they, them. And I already introduced myself last time, so we'll just go along with that.
Okay, yes. My name is Mel. I am the new NB on the block. And my pronouns are they, them. And let's see. I know you, Jess, and Erica, and of course Vanessa from LinkedIn. We all have our shenanigans there, and I had been doing this, segment called Non-Binary Diaries, where I just talked about my experience and hopes that some people relate. And but mostly I'm also a life coach and a health and life coach and a certified EFT TFT practitioner. So I do some fun stuff. So trans joy and resilience, I'm excited about talking about this today.
Awesome. We are so excited to have you join us on the podcast, and I cannot wait to see what you do with us in the future. And I've told you this already, I really loved your daily diary series. I was stalking it daily, like, did she post it yet today? Or they, oh my God, sorry, I just did it right there on camera. Did they post it today?
It happens. I do it to myself sometimes.
I do it to myself all the time. I was talking to my wife yesterday and I referred to myself as he, and I was like, all right, it happens. And we just move on. We call it out and we move on, right?
Exactly.
All right, Rylie, tell us about you.
I'm still 25. Man, I wish I was 25 again. 29-year-old trans masculine man here. I mean, that's probably about as exciting as it's going to get right now.
Okay.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's hey, I wish I was 29 again. I would take that over 25.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I'm mentally, I think I'm already at 30. I only got a couple more months, so I'm not eager to be at 30, but like my brain's already there. Like when people ask me my age, I have to be like 29. There's a slight pause.
I gotta say, having probably a few more decades than all of you under my belt, those decade birthdays are big ones, right? Whether you're dreading them or you're celebrating them, I always feel like big things come up and you kind of make these leaps forward. So from my hindsight, I look back fondly on most of the decades I turned.
Well, that's good.
So I've got this one coming up this year too. I'll be 40 later this year. So
yeah, that's a big one.
Oh, that's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I am just had my last big one. I am 51 this year.
Oh,
which is wild.
You
I know you guys are like, you look like 28, and I love that y'all said that about me.
No, 51, that's such a good year and you look amazing, but there is something to be said of surpassing or being right at those major markers.
Yeah, totally.
I just turned 39 3 weeks ago, and I'm excited to enter my 40s, but I've decided to make 39 one hell of a year and just really mull into it, because I think for a lot of people, the 30s are like huge, just reckoning of a lot of unpacking, and 40s too. And I mean, Erica, you are like, look at me. I got my shit going on. I am the shit. So That's cool. At this point,
I'll take it.
I'm just happy to, like, if I can just be a good bottle of bourbon, like, and just age real well like that, I'll be happy.
Mhm. Totally. All right. Well, let's start to jump into things tonight. So we're going to talk about trans joy. But first, I wanted to stop by Pride. This is the Transcending Humanity's first podcast in Pride. Round of applause, high fives for everybody on this one. That's a big deal, right? Doing a podcast like this with all of us together during Pride, it's fantastic. And I can't help mention Pride without first reminding people Pride is a protest. Started as a riot. Stonewall, June 28, 1969. And while it's a fabulous party all month long, still a protest, people. Show up and show out. Let's make sure all the different types of phobes out there feel really uncomfortable this month.
That's right.
Yes. So just want to touch on that really quickly. Does anybody have any exciting Pride plans?
Sadly, no, not this year. With the predicament of my new job and no longer having a boss.
That's right.
I'm having to pick up a lot. So my weekends are preoccupied, unfortunately.
It's you out there being yourself, Rylie, is still Pride, even if it's at a new job that doesn't have a boss.
Well, actually, no, I have a small thing that we're doing at work actually for Pride related things. So we're all gonna get these Cincinnati Pride shirts, and we're gonna do our thing in the office and just have a little bit. We actually have like a bulletin board up in our office as well for Pride Month. Some fun stuff on.
That's cool.
Are you in Cincinnati, Rylie?
I am.
What? I just moved there like 7 months ago.
Hey, well, we gotta meet up.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm about to be like, what side do you live on? like it matters.
Yeah, I drive all over Cincinnati anyway, so.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything worth mentioning for Pride this year other than just being our badass selves on LinkedIn in this podcast?
Yeah, I've actually got this month, I'm going to a Pride event at the library. My wife and kid came home from the library with a flyer and they were all stoked about it. See, here, a lot of cities in the South, Pride is actually in the fall, like all the events are in the fall. So we were actually trying to figure out what we could do this summer. I mean, I know it's like city by city, but where we are here, I think it actually happens in like September, October. And even I was looking at other cities in North Carolina and I only found one that was in June. And I know like for us, like it's always like, I'm from Atlanta. So like Atlanta, but so anyway, yeah, I don't know. When is DC Pride?
This weekend.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Saturday.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Maybe I could make it up there next year or something because I know that would be amazing. Yeah.
Come stay with me, Jess. I am also an Atlanta girl. I didn't know that you were from Atlanta.
Wow.
I grew up in Midtown.
Okay. I grew up south of the city, and close to the Renaissance Festival, actually.
Oh, I forget what that's like. Peachtree City.
Peachtree City, but I lived on the other side of the freeway, Fairburn.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. I actually, yeah, like used to go around the Renaissance Festival as a kid when it was like all abandoned. I could break in there, not break in, but I could get in and like walk around.
Right. Because they leave like the buildings up all year long.
Yeah, they leave the buildings up, but it's like it's all like a set. So it's like the front half of the building, with like the side, and then there's like nothing on the back except for like the 2x4s. So it was like a really trippy, like ghost towny kind of thing to like kind of wander around as a kid. But yeah, I ended up staying in Atlanta for college. I went to GSU, which is downtown. So I spent that time. Oh, did you too? That is such a trip.
I'm a Panther, baby.
World. All right. That is so awesome. Yeah. That is hilarious. So I really got to know the city really, really well and lived several different places. And I absolutely love Atlanta. I think it's just an awesome city. Love visiting.
Wow.
Yeah,
we have just been following each other around. Apparently. Now you got to move to DC.
I know.
Okay. Mel, anything in particular for Pride?
Oh yeah, I mean, just moving here late last year and wanting to know more about DC and where to go. It's definitely a great time to just zero in on all the queer businesses.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, so there's one place that I've been frequenting on the southeast side, and it's like a gay coffee shop bar. And last night they had like wine day with craft time upstairs, and I'm like, oh yes,
Gay craft
and
time?
craft time at a coffee shop bar. So on Wednesdays. So yeah, it's just enjoying that and checking it all out, and really embracing businesses that are for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not attending any of the Pride festivals this year. I missed my local one here in Reston, North Virginia, because I had just had surgery the few days before, and I'm still not recovered quite enough to be going downtown to DC to deal with with Pride at that level. So I'm going to be keeping it calm at home, checking in with my friends, following them on Insta. I do have quite a few speaking gigs lined up, so that's what I'm doing this year for Pride. Is I'm talking to people about who we are. Now, okay. All right, so now let's get down to trans joy, right? So for our previous listeners, you'll know that trans joy is one of my favorite topics, and it's a favorite topic of the show, which is why we do it monthly, right? There's really nothing more than I love about talking about joy, experiencing my own joy, or hearing about Jess's or Mel's or Rylie or other people. I soak it up. I love it. It gives me a lot of hope. It feels magical to me. It's like an elixir of life. Like you're in Zelda, you need to drink that health potion or whatever, you know? But I also have to say it's a proactive thing that we have to work on, right? In our community, especially today, the way things are today, it's really easy to get sucked into the difficulty of living as trans or non-binary. It can be really hard not to get sucked into the politics, the hate, which we all experience to varying degrees, depending on what we do in our lives and how visible we are, and things like that. And while we do have to stand up and show out and all of that, we need to recharge. And joy, finding joy, expressing joy is one of the best ways to do that. And personally, I got to say, I cannot continuously consume all the anger and ire out there and push against it without recharging my batteries, and experiencing my own joy or talking to people about others is one of the best ways for me to do that. So for today's episode, we're going to take a stop by with each person and let them tell us about something they're joyful about. So who would like to go first?
Again, going back to, let's find all the queer places to eat, drink, be crafty, right? And let's find all the businesses that have clothes that feel very gender affirming, and let's find all the trans books, especially non-binary, and cue the playlists, right? So just immersing myself and all things non-binary, especially since for me personally, it's been a newer journey, fully embracing it and understanding what that is for me and who I am. This month is the perfect time to do that. So it's full immersion.
Fantastic. Do you have like a favorite book, favorite piece of music, or even, like you said, gender affirming clothes that really bring that out in you?
So not a queer business, but just, I guess, because it's within walking distance for me, but H&M has a lot of clothes that for me feels affirming. The cuts, I can go to different departments. It's all kind of there. I don't have to worry about, any getting weird looks or hate. I just go move around the store, look at everything, and do my thing. In terms of music right now, I am loving everything that Janelle Monáe is putting out.
Yeah.
Their new album, yeah, and it just feels really good to just blare that in my ears as I'm walking to wherever I need to go.
Yes, that new album is amazing.
It's like, yeah, right here. Good shot.
Okay, what about Jess? You want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So I love this topic. That we're doing this monthly. I a couple months ago committed to like doing a weekly post just for myself, and that's been, and I really did that because I felt like I needed it. Like, I mean, it felt good to do, and I wanted it, obviously, but it also was like my way of being like, I'm making a commitment to this kind of fighting back against all this negativity, just myself in my own way, to just take a few moments every week to like recognize something that brings me joy and is like in the category of trans joy. But my specific thing that I'll bring to this conversation, because I actually won't post about this on LinkedIn, is like one of the huge things that has just been really, really big for me in just the last few months, because I just had top surgery in December, is like being able to be shirtless, you know, and like feeling I'm not like up to the point where I'm like confident about that in public or something, you know, but like just feeling like I can do that and not having to, I mean, and I did it before, but like before I would have to be in like a really private place, right? But like just feeling more like, hey, like I'm in my backyard, you know, like whatever. Or like I'm on my deck and like I'm hot, so I'm actually just gonna take my shirt off for a minute because, you know, I can. And like even, you know, even though, I mean, I guess I could have before too, it's like kind of that same thing, but, and it's had me, I mean, it's had me think a lot about, for me, that is a joy that like I experienced as a kid growing up in Atlanta, where it's really freaking hot, you know, and then at some point was told that I couldn't do that anymore, you know, and that kind of began a lot of dysphoria that I didn't even recognize or have that kind of word for at that time, of course, but just like really kind of just feeling really like, yeah, just feeling really confident in my body and just being able to like take up space in that way has been really huge for me. And I haven't, since my top surgery, I haven't like been to the beach yet, but I am going later this year and I'm going to very much enjoy that. And I was able to go to a like trans swim event locally, and, you know, was able to just be there shirtless and just enjoy myself as, you know, like in my body and feeling like really comfortable. So yeah, that's been really huge for me, and for obvious reasons is just not something that I'm gonna be comfortable confident self.
I'm so happy for you on that. First of all, I went to the beach to kind of 2 months ago. It feels like forever already. And we went to the beach last summer as well, but it didn't feel like this one. And I've always been, I don't, when I used to go to the beach as a guy, I didn't like not having a shirt on, just even though that was fit and all of that. And I also like burn instantly in the sun. So there's a practical aspect of that, right? But just never liked having my shirt, not having a shirt on. And going to the beach this summer in Mexico and wearing a bikini felt like the best fucking thing in the world. And I was nervous about it, but within 5 minutes, it's like, oh, this is great. So I get that from the other side.
Awesome.
I was gonna say that's how it was the first time I went to the beach after top surgery. I mean, I was definitely like paranoid that people were looking, but like at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm here to have a good time. I don't give a crap if they are looking or whatever. I'm here to enjoy the beach.
Yeah, it was like, and I do love the beach. Like I grew up in Florida a certain amount, I spent a lot of time at the beach, and I enjoy the beach, but there was always something wrong, and I finally figured out what it was 2 months ago. Okay, what about you, Riley?
Well, I mean, obviously getting to have a new job where I'm also kind of like testing the waters with being openly trans at work is kind of an interesting. Um, it's still kind of in the process, but like, I am pretty open on my LinkedIn, and I'm starting to add my coworkers on LinkedIn. So it's going to become a conversation at some point. I'm not going to be like in your face, like, hey, by the way, I'm trans, just out of nowhere. But like, it is kind of nice knowing that even before that I started adding all of my coworkers on LinkedIn, that they were like, hey, we're going to be celebrating Pride Month. And I was like, okay, like, here we're doing that, because I mean, I work at a museum, so like, it's not
Cool.
yeah. So it's not like anything like crazy, like out in the super public, because people have to come to us, but like, like it is pretty public facing though. So like, the fact that they are very supportive of those sorts of things up front, like, hey, we're gonna be supporting this throughout the month, regardless if you're comfortable with it or not. So that sort of thing was kind of nice to come into right off the back. um you know and then on top of that, I shared in the Discord group also about Elliot Page's new book coming out, and I'm actually really excited about that. It arrived today, and I already am like 3 or 4 chapters in. I got home and I was like, nope, that's what I'm doing with my evening until this started. Uh, so yeah, and then so far it's honestly really, really good. So I really recommend it. But yeah, so those sorts of small little things are kind of bringing me trans joy this month. Also, I know we've talked about me like shaving my head before, but this was actually the first time I actually took like a razor to my head.
Yeah.
2 days ago. Yeah. It is already sandpaper again though, but the satisfaction of actually like not just buzzing it and actually shaving it for the first time was it was a moment of euphoria, but also like, oh god, why there's no going back now.
Well, I love that for you. It looks, I know I can't see the sandpaper, but it looks sharp, dude.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. I mean, it's hard to tell anyway, just because it's thinning so much. But that's why I was like, let me just go ahead and shave it.
If that's something that if that's the look that you decide down the road that, hey, I want to keep this. I have a friend who's been in the process of laser hair removing, like on his scalp. And I mean, it's painful.
There's a tip, no shaving.
It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. And you won't have to worry about shaving. But it is kind of weird until the process is finally complete. Like, he just randomly sweats on his head just for fun. So there's like care involved, but yeah.
That's also dudes, just kind of dudes though. I can tell you that.
But it's more so because of the laser treatment.
With the laser, yeah.
Gotcha.
I never thought of that. That's such a good tip for all of our bald guys out there that don't want to go through the daily maintenance.
I was gonna say, honestly, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. Okay, so for me, a couple of things. So for all of our trans femmes out there, they'll know what this is. I don't know how well you guys know, but I just had my orchiectomy last week, so no more testicles for me. No longer being poisoned by the system, which is great, but it's quite a recovery. But other than that, Friday night, I got to go see the Queen, Billy Porter, in concert in DC, who I've adored. I knew about him before he was on Pose, but really loved him in Pose. I saw Kinky Boots, not his version, but I went back and like watched his version. And so getting to go to what was effectively queer church was just awesome. And it was a relatively intimate theater, and he comes into the crowd. So like at one point, I have a picture, I was like a foot from him, which was amazing. Oh, look, here's Vanessa. So I just thoroughly enjoyed that event where he sang songs from his new album, Black Mona Lisa, which comes out in a few months, and sang a song from Kinky Boots and a couple of other things like that. It was just an amazing night where he expected people to call in response to him. He even had a walk-off where he got 8 people up from the crowd to come up on stage and walk it off against each other pose style. So
That is fantastic.
That's what,
That
yes.
is fantastic.
You can see some of the you can see this on his Instagram. So for me, that was just such a great night of queer love and seeing so much of the community there, and particularly the Black sectors of our community as well, right? So because in DC, it's pretty much a bastion of whiteness, right? So it was really nice to be arm in arm with some of our other members.
Yeah.
So that's me. Hey, Vanessa, we're just talking about our own personal transgendered experience. I know that I'm putting you on the spot. You have anything you want to talk about?
Our own personal what? Sorry?
Trans joy experience that you might have had recently.
Trans joy for me, it's definitely clothes shopping, even though I don't have much budget to do it. But I just go to Goodwill, and it's because I had just been like wearing the wrong clothes my whole life. Like I just wear like a t-shirt and baggy cargo shorts all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow I still got laid. I don't know how, but it was I was one of those. At work, I just had these. I did get nice shirts for work because they lasted forever. But now that I can actually dress the way that I want, I found a big passion in dresses. I love wearing dresses. They're so comfortable. I don't know how they ever fell out of men's fashion because they're the best. And I don't know, it's always affirming for me because I go out in a dress and I get complimented on them a lot. And that brings tons of joy to me, just to be able to wear comfortable clothes, wear what I want, present how I want. And yeah, that brings joy to me. I hope that answered your question.
It did, totally.
Okay,
And
cool.
I have to say, as a fellow trans femme, I love a good dress. I'm more of a jeans gal day in and day out, but if I'm going out, I'm getting dressed up. And I'd always heard women like, oh, I hate dresses. Bleh. And I'm like, I don't know why, they're amazing.
They're the
But
best.
that they're not for everybody.
Apparently not.
I think my partner's complaint is having to shave her legs.
Yeah, I am fortunate in that I am Irish and German, like Northern German. So like my hair is like white and blonde. So even if I don't shave my legs for a week, no one can see.
There could definitely be worse things. I plait my legs. I shave my legs. I'm eventually just, after I get an actual job that pays me money, which I'm going to start getting my legs lasered. So I just don't have to worry about that anymore.
Sounds nice. Hey, Vanessa, you missed this. Mel just gave Rylie an excellent tip that if he does not want to shave his head, I think apparently for guys who are bald is to get your head lasered so you don't have to do all the maintenance.
That's a really good idea. And do
Right.
it while you're young before you start getting gray hair, because
Yep.
laser won't touch the gray. So get that shit
Oh.
done, my love.
Yes. Hot
What-
tip for all of you out there. Get your laser done when your hair is not gray, because that shit don't get lasered. That's all that I have left on my face for my beard is gray hair.
Well, I might not be as lucky then because I'm already a little salt and peppery.
Well, a little's not that big a deal, but if you start, just for anybody out there, you're thinking about laser, you got like white hairs coming in, know that those are not going to get taken care of with laser.
Noted.
Cool.
I did not know that was a thing that laser wouldn't take care of. So
Laser works great on blonde, red, brown, and dark, especially darker
It doesn't
hairs.
even really work on blonde or red.
It
that
it depends. Like
Yeah.
mine has a pigment that does work a little bit, but most effective on brown and black hair.
Yeah.
okay.
So, but gray hair whatsoever, no.
Anything gray, anything really light, you have to get done with electrolysis, which, yeah, that's a whole other episode.
Side note, this is totally like down a rabbit hole, but I just heard that scientists have found a way to stop people's hair from graying that does not require hair dye. It's like changing the chemicals in your system. So if only that had arrived a few years sooner, I've kind of done laser on my whole face. So that's the thing that's coming.
So much information on this show.
Yes. Hey, Mel, a lot of us have all kinds of weird esoteric medical information that we have gained, and it just keeps pouring out of us when something comes up.
I had my nethers lasered today, so
yes, I hope you're doing okay.
It was fun, but yeah, that's like the whole laser and electrolysis thing. You have to go back and forth. So
yeah, Satan's electrolysis. Okay, so before we go on to our next segment, I think we always talk about trans joy, and I loved all of your examples. I always also like to touch on kind of maintaining that trans joy as a practice. Like, are there tips that you can give? Are there things that you do that when you know you need a shot of that trans joy adrenaline in your arm that help you get there, that you can think of?
For me, it's connecting with my body. Jess, when you were talking earlier about how when you were a kid and you wanted to take your shirt off and you were told that you couldn't and you didn't understand why, I felt that big time because I was the kid that would take their shirt off and climb trees and I was like, yeah, this is what you do. And so just having this mind body connection and just really connecting with my body, how it is in real time, real motion, and just observing just again in real time, it just helps. A lot of observation and not pushing so much, but just like, wow, look at my body, it can do so many things. Strip, again, for me, being a non-binary person, stripping away the gender elements and at the same time feeling those masculine and feminine energies. I just feel it all within myself, and I'm like, damn, this is all me. This is all NB energy,
I love that. I am an off and on yoga practitioner. And that was one of my favorite things to do, especially going through tons of dysphoria, just a few years back. And like you said, it's like, you do that deep breathing, you turn inside, you kind of let go when you do that exploration of like, oh, this feels particularly gendered, right? You're just sort of being in space. And so that's definitely something I would recommend people give a go at.
Yeah. Like the other day, I just decided to go for a run. I don't run, but it felt amazing. And I caught a glimpse of myself on a building, window running. And I'm like, oh, look at me. I feel my arms are nice and masculine, even though I'm lean. I feel like that masculine, yet gender fluid energy. But oh my goodness, I have a nice butt. My butt is nice, and so just really connecting all of that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody else? You okay, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. So I've really been working on like self-care in general in the last few years. And so, I have a few go-tos, but I think one of the things that I do is, and I kind of mentioned this in the last episode that I was on, but I'm a climber. So like if I need it, like I'm, going to the gym and, putting my phone away for a while and just like swinging around like a monkey at the gym, and doing that is, I do it more for, it feels really good physically. I also know that it's, kicking around some very happy brain chemicals. But it just, for me is a very good, it's like a winning cycle of like, I want to climb up this thing and then I climb up the thing, it can just be very simple, but just, and a way for me to like get in my body. and also like get some energy out that can feel really good. And then another one of my favorite go-tos is like, you know, if I'm like really upset and really in need of some joy, I'll go for a walk in the woods. And I've done that since I was a kid, like going for a walk in the woods alone, you know. And that's just a big, like, just the grounding kind of nature of you know, being outside and being away from all the stimulation of our current world and all of the screens and noise and everything is just another way to kind of just, for me to just reconnect and center myself and, you know, take some deep breaths and feel grounded and get back to that place of feeling joy.
Yeah, I love that. I am a hug a tree type person. Even though I live in the big city, I do have lots of trees outside my house. And if there is a body of water, I am going to find it and stand in front of it and just be quiet. That's a big thing for me. But I love what you talk about being physical exercise. I'm a swimmer, right? So there's nothing like diving in the pool and just cutting through that water, banging out a mile, and just like getting those good chemicals going, right? Because I just feel like a dolphin. I'm like, I'm not even human, so what is gender in the water? So
That's great.
yeah, pretty much. What about you, Rylie?
One of my go-tos, I guess, is kind of like it's not like necessarily like a gender related thing, but like just going bowling for me actually is kind of one of those things that I like doing just to kind of, it's a go-to to like make me feel a little better. Because I mean, let's get real, just especially if you've had a rough day and you just are like getting to just throw this heavy ass ball down a lane and just be like, "Gah!" Sometimes it's so just, it's what you need, and sometimes it's nice to just go hang out and just throw a few balls down the lane anyway and just have a good time.
Yeah, totally love that. I love a good chance to bowl. Or for me, I'm a cornhole champion actually. So sorry to keep dropping knowledge on you guys. So yeah, I love that. Like just take out the aggression. So much fun. How about you, Vanessa? Do you got any favorite ways to get a hit of joy?
To get a hit of joy, honestly, just where is she? Hey, you wake up. She's not waking up, but this
She
little
perked up in
fluffy
here.
nutter right here. So yeah, she perked in the ear. Yeah, just if I just need a little hit of joy, like I'll just like lay on the bed and just ask her to come cuddle. And sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. But when she does, it's like, oh, you know, puppy love. It goes a long way, really, because I don't like to exercise. And I don't like to exercise, and everyone else likes to exercise. So yeah, that would be mine. That and going to get slushies at Taco Bell for some reason, but that's probably just an autistic craving or something. So
Okay, so questions. Taco Bell has slushies.
yes, they do. They have there's a blue raspberry one, which is quite good. And right now they're doing a berry watermelon lemonade, which is very good. So I've been going just about nightly and getting one to the point where they know me, and probably half the time I don't even have to pay because I treat them like human beings. So I don't complain.
That's amazing. Taco Bell, we're looking for a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I will drink one of your slushies on air. That's amazing. I love Starbucks for the same reason. There is just, I don't go every day because it would be so bad, but I would go every day if I did not have some kind of self-control. But
I'm
just
guilty
getting
of
that,
doing that sometimes too.
just getting that caramel macchiato like 2 or 3 times a week.
Upside down
And
oat milk.
no oat milk for me, but
Oh,
non-fat milk, but yes, upside down,
yeah.
right?
Oh.
If you guys order a caramel macchiato and you spin that thing around and shake it up in front of them, they get mad because they worked hard to keep things separate. So if you ask for upside down, it's all mixed together.
Okay, so
better
upside down just means mixed together.
Means you're gonna have the milk on the bottom and
Okay.
the latte on top.
It's
So
much
it's
better
upside
if you're going to
down,
be
it's all-
driving.
Yeah, because you don't get just bitter coffee and then really sweet milk.
Yeah.
You get it all together. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I get Starbucks every day. Also,
With
Starbucks
oat milk.
sponsor us.
Yeah, they are
Or the oat
monstrous.
milk.
It's like
No,
Starbucks is
sponsor
such a-
us.
Oh, sponsor us. Oh, well, shit. Well, sponsor us even though you're monstrous.
That too.
You're our bathroom go-to, so trans people have to like you. So
that is true. I think it came up on an earlier episode.
it did.
When I travel in the car, I'm like, where are the Starbucks on the route? Because I know I don't have to worry.
And that is very important.
Navigate by Starbucks.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's take a little turn to joy as resistance, right? Joy in this form is an affirmation of life, and shouting to the world, this is who I am. This is who the world needs to see, deal with, and accept. It plays an immeasurable role in our activism, as it's the fuel that keeps us going, particularly when the righteous fires are burning a bit low as time wears on. I don't know about you guys, I said this earlier, but I got to recharge. In the end, seeing people being joyful and who they are becomes something the other side struggles to find a way to fight, because most people really can't get behind squashing someone else's joy. They can stay pissed off about it for a while, but they really can't for that long. So it's an important thing to show off outside of our community, right? It is a productive force of change. And actually, it's one of the first things that dictators, very controlling movements seek to squash first, because they know if people have hope, and they usually have hope within joy, they'll fight back. And without that, they won't. So this is why joy as resistance is super important. For me, I just pretty much go where I damn well please, right? Now, granted, I live in an area of country that's very friendly to trans people. And when I'm not in that area of the country, I feel a little nervous. But I also don't mind showing up in public. And I don't limit who I am. I engage with people. I make eye contact. I will happily tell them who I am. As I've said before, like, I don't pass as female or male. I pass as a transgender person. That's what I look like. That's what I am. And I will just wear that wherever I go. And as you all can see, I have very up energy. I engage with people one-to-one, and I just refuse to limit myself in public, because frankly, it's contagious. And people need to see that someone like me is thriving, joyful, and having a good time instead of being ashamed, because I refuse to be ashamed.
I can definitely follow up on that and agree with that. I kind of do the same thing. I live in a very red area. Like,
You do.
I get people, like, I've had people stop their cars and slowly drive by while just staring at me. So yeah, I'm a novelty. But
yeah,
I also use that to the advantage of our community now. By, like, when I'm out and about, I like to treat people well. Like, I'm not just saying like tip your server. I do tip well, but just treat people like humans. And as I said just a little bit ago, I get a lot of free drinks at Taco Bell because I actually talk to them. Actually, they are just people, and I talk to them like people. They're used to waiting on the hoity-toities that live around here, and so I try to give people a positive impression of trans people. It's like, hey, we're not groomers, we're not pedophiles, we're just people trying to live our lives. So, and yes, I look in this dress, thank you. I'll compliment other people, and that this way and the other. And I found that's my way of using joy as resistance. That, and just shoving it in people's faces online, but that's another story. So
yes, there is the very likely factor, I think all of us here are aware of it. Most of the time when we're out in public and we're interacting with people, we are the first trans person they are seeing in real life, right? Most likely. Even here for me, where I am in DC, I am frequently the first trans person that they're getting to interact with. And sometimes that feels like a heavy weight, but for me, a lot of times I'm like, I'm gonna show you who we are.
And that can be really powerful.
And that, for me, a lot of people that I talk to and a lot of people I know, they don't know what a non-binary person is. And when you say the word trans, and when I say I am a trans non-binary person, they instantly look down at my pants as if there's something in there.
What's in there other than your butt?
They want to see, and I'm like, oh, excuse you. you know, like don't look there. But that is their perception. And
Mhm.
so just talking about it. And, you
Mhm.
know, lately I've been making posts out. So the non-binary diaries I'm not doing, but I am kind of just so doing little posts such as, hey, I wore my they them pen and I'm happy to report no one got hurt. You know, no one was hurt. I didn't convert anybody. Everyone's children, you know, they're all safe. Everyone's fine. And, you know, same with today.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, went to my favorite gay coffee shop bar yesterday, last night, and happy to report that when my friend that I was with uh, helped take pictures for some people outside the bar, nobody turned gay, nobody turned queer. Everyone was fine. We all lived our lives. And
Mhm.
that's important to keep into perspective because the narrative is that our very existence is violent and harmful
Mhm.
and contagious.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of, I guess, political figures are saying about us, but it's really about them. And
Mhm.
it's frustrating. So instead of getting frustrated, it brings me joy to spout facts and say,
Mhm. Mhm.
hey,
Mhm.
I wore my gay pride shoes today and my my roommates, it didn't turn my roommates gay. They're fine. They're everyone's fine.
No one was queered by you being around,
No, but
right? But they had
my
a good
shoes are
time.
snazzy, so it's okay to
Yeah.
like them. Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I saw your post today and was like, yo, that's so true. Like, we're not contagious. Like, if you start thinking you're queer around us, then maybe that's you need to do some investigation instead of thinking we breathed on you.
Yeah,
Like
that's called,
chances are you were queer before.
yeah, it's actually representation at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is so important, Jess,
Yes,
right? And that's one
which
of the
is
reasons
very
why
important.
I show up and do the things that I do because, and I've heard this so many times, people say, I feel so comfortable admitting who I am as trans or gay or lesbian or queer because you just own it. And I'm like, well, that's really flattering. And so I got to keep this act up. And it's not an act, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Representation's a huge deal.
It really is. It really is.
I do want to add real quick that me wearing my pen, especially during this month, it is about the representation because, you know, one time wearing my pen, I was around a young trans woman who just graduated from high school that night. And I was so ecstatic for her uh, because she graduated from high school. And in addition to it being hard to graduate from high school in general, sometimes high school's rough. She did it being exactly who she is. And that is pretty amazing. And she saw my pen and it was like, you know, those moments of like, hey fam, I see you, congratulations. And if we can all just be that representation for each other, just even a little bit, it's like hopefully it just helps other people and it just helps us and we just all feel stronger together instead of constantly defeated and feeling alone, because we're not, even though sometimes it may feel like it.
Mhm. Mhm.
That kind of reminds me of the It Gets Better project.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because like I remember that was really big, at least like when I was in high school, and just that, you know, all the hate that was still coming towards the LGBT community at that point, well over a decade ago. And just that the videos that were coming out of adults being like, hey, like I remember being in your shoes and I made it through, and if you just hold out that little bit longer, it'll help. Like it makes a difference.
I gotta say, I remember those two, Riley, and I was like, but does it? Does it? It does. It does get better. It seems so scary. It seems impossible. That doesn't mean there's not rough times, but it gets so much better.
Definitely.
I can throw a couple points on this trans choice resistance. So the first one is just so before I had my top surgery, I told my parents about it because you know I just wanted them to know it's a major thing, and I knew that there was going to be some I don't know what to say, like pushback or whatever. Maybe that's not the best word, but I knew there were going to be questions and resistance, and you know that was just I knew that going into it. And before I talked to them, I was talking to a neighbor who I'm really close with. It was really awesome, and she was just like congratulating me on taking the step of doing the surgery, and said and gave me this idea of how she was just talking to me about how proud she was of me as a person or whatever, which was very nice. But like it really gave me an idea of how to frame it with my parents that was actually a really hard way to argue with. So what I said was, I said, hey, I'm like letting you know I'm having a mastectomy, and I got, right to the why, and I mean, that was like the initial response from one of my parents. And I just said, well, it's because I've really been thinking about this time, and this is what I want to do to feel more comfortable in my body.
Yep.
And this is what I feel like taking this step is going to have me feel. It's hard to argue with that. Like, it's hard to be like, no, to that. Like it like kind of puts it's like, no, don't be comfortable in your body, like, no, don't love yourself. It's like when you frame it that way, which of course there's, hundreds of ways that could have been framed. It's just, hard to resist it. Erica, when you were talking about, having that pushback from, more conservative people of when people really see people experiencing joy, and it kind of becomes hard to argue with that. And so that was really big, and just ended up being a good way for me to make that communication in a way that was really kind of empowering, and positive. And then, another like just piece is like one of my gurus or North Stars for trans joy is Alok. And one of their quotes that I mean they're so amazingly well spoken, that I love pretty much everything they say, or at least what gets quoted online. But one of my favorite quotes from them is, you get to have fun now, and you get to be free now, and now gets to be forever. And to me, it was like a lot of, I've been gender nonconforming for a really long time, but me really stepping into being trans and owning that and loving that part of myself has been a lot of just kind of like, hey, this is my life. Like if I, go to the end of my life and then I regret what I've done, or something like that, kind of do the rocking chair test or whatever. It's like, this is it. Like, this is my chance to be joyful and to be me. So like, why not do it?
I love that. And I think it took me a while to hit on that personally as well, Jess. Like when I was doing all of my coming out to so many fucking people, I think my story over time started to revolve around, I'm just so tired of being unhappy in who I am and in my body, and I just want to be happy. And now whenever someone's like, but aren't you worried you're going to regret it? And I'm like, regret being happy? Please tell me someone who's regretting being happy. And I think that point that you bring up is such a great way for people to frame this up as it comes up for them, as if you have coming out to do, if you have a surgery coming up, if you know you have to tell someone that's going to be, frame it in terms of how joyful and happy and comfortable it will make you and yourself. That's really hard for people to argue with. And it kind of cuts off that, but won't you regret it, which is the silliest thing I've ever heard. Okay, got anybody else with their own tips about joy as resistance? You got one coming, Vanessa, or should I move on?
No, I'm just trying to break up the awkward.
Okay, cool.
If not, I got a small story I could share.
There you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do
ahead.
it.
Some time.
So when I was in college, still working retail at that point, I had it was kind of like a mutually, like, it was a joyous moment, but it was also very infuriating. But so it was joyous because it was my anniversary. It was like my being on testosterone. And I just happened to have to work on that day. So I was like, okay, whatever. So it was nice in that perspective. I think it was like my third or fourth T anniversary. And so, I'm on cashier and I have this lady who just comes up to me and she's just all sorts of upset because there was some man in the women's dressing room trying on dresses. And like, I shut that shit down so fast.
Yeah.
And like in that moment, like it was so satisfying to shut her down. But I was also sitting there like so upset because I was like, this woman is literally complaining about a trans person to a trans person.
Mm-hmm.
And she has no idea.
She has no idea.
And it was just like in that moment, but like I shut her down and I was like, ma'am, our company policy is that they're allowed to be in there and they're allowed to try those clothes on. And she was like, but, and I was like, ma'am, I really don't care. Our policy is this.
Oh, I love you, Rylie.
And quite frankly, I didn't actually know if that was the policy.
Doesn't know that it's not.
You chose the wrong person to complain to.
Yeah.
And also, like, honestly, like, really? Really? You're not in that dressing room with them. What is your deal? Why are you looking?
Yeah.
Come on.
Very good point. Why are you looking? Because they're projecting.
Of course.
Oh yes.
I love that. Rylie, I call it my transiversary when February 11th rolls around every year.
I usually call it my maniversary, but like then I kind of
Maniversary.
that be a little weird for some people, but like because I know not every person who takes testosterone is going to identify as a man in any sort of ways. Like Jess is non-binary, so like for him, for them taking testosterone doesn't necessarily mean, hey, it's my maniversary. So
Using
gets to mean whatever
anniversary
you
is
want it to
fine
mean.
though. Yeah, because it's an individual thing. I call it my tranniversary. So
Yeah.
And by
It's
the
your,
way, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Rylie, it's your anniversary. You call it what you want.
And finally, not being on HRT does not mean you don't get to celebrate your own anniversaries as a trans
Exactly.
non-binary person.
Absolutely.
The medical path is not required to be trans, non-binary enough.
exactly. Period.
You celebrate you the way you need to.
Yeah, mic drop.
Mic
Okay.
drop.
I'm like, what is Mel doing? Okay,
We're done.
mic drop.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, we're not done. I got one more for you. Okay, let me wind up to our last little topic here. Okay, so it's always worth talking about resilience. I talk about this a lot when we talk about joy, right? As trans and non-binary people, especially in this climate, we are always dealing with a lot personally, with our own journey, our own family, our own friends, our own work, and what's happening locally at the state level, at the national level, the global level, right? And having resilience as a trans and non-binary person is kind of a requirement at this point. You've got to get back up on that horse. You've got to get yourself up and going again for a variety of reasons, not only your own personal demons you might be working through, but because the process is full of red tape, full of gatekeepers. So I always think it's a good time to talk about resiliency when we talk about joy, because joy is one of those things that helps recharge that resiliency meter. Does any of you Wow, words. Does any of you want to talk about how you approach resiliency and how you kind of cultivate that in yourself and dust yourself off?
I mean, being a life coach, I have to practice what I preach, right? Every single day. I can't take myself off the hook. I just gotta keep at it. And one thing that I focus on a lot for me and for my clients is shame. And especially for the trans community, there's so much shame, and it's internalized perceptions from other people. It's not even ours. And but we take it on, it becomes a part of us, and until we work through it, and then we let it go. But for me, really evolving in my journey as a non-binary person, just looking at the shame, letting it go. Sometimes I'm not able to let it go because I'm human, and it shows up in ways. And sometimes I lose my shit, and I give myself grace, and I give myself forgiveness, and I forgive myself for holding on to what doesn't belong to me at all. But I make it a practice because I owe it to myself. And having that time to dedicate to myself is the biggest act of defiance and resilience that I can do for me, that nobody can take away from me. So
I love that 1,000,000,000%, Mel. I'm not a life coach, but I have a very similar mindset. Like, yeah, shame shows up. I refuse to engage with shame.
yeah.
Something happened. I'm going to look it straight in the face, figure out how to work through it, and we're going to move on with life. I will not let shame take me down the way it used to. And you're right, it's a practice. Doesn't mean it won't show up. And it's not bad if it shows up, but you can't stay there. You can't let it own you. And having that perspective of, I have got to get through this, I've got to take care of myself, is a huge factor in resiliency.
Especially because we're taught that, inherently we are bad, and to survive we have to assimilate. And there's this separation of assimilation and being ourselves. And so it's very jarring to be like, oh, I'm good, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong with me. Like there's nothing wrong with me. And that's what we all like deserve to feel. And it's essential, because there's nothing wrong with us.
Yeah, boy, y'all, I know we had a mic drop moment a couple minutes ago. That's another one. There is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Take that shit in.
That's a really good one. It's
Yeah,
been
it
been
really is.
powerful for me to like just be kind of repeating, like, there is nothing wrong with being trans, like the only thing that is wrong about being trans is that society thinks that it's wrong to be trans. That's it. There is nothing inherent, like there's nothing wrong with being trans. It is a perfectly valid and right way to be and exist in the world. And like, I don't know, for me, like I had a lot of resistance to that label for a long time, and like finally did some real big digging into what the hell that was about, like how have I been gender nonconforming for like 2 decades, and like way up in the queer community, and like way all over, and had trans friends and non-binary friends, and just still had this like resistance to like owning that myself. And a lot of that was like what you talked about, Mel, like a lot of that was that like internal, like that was like the big bad no, and just like being able to let go of that and just be like, you know what, that was something that I was told that I believed a really long time ago, and that shit just doesn't serve me. And like, I'm just gonna drop that like a hot potato. I'm just gonna get the fuck on. And it has been like that weight like lifted as soon as I like took that step. I was just like, whoa, like what just happened, like to like my brain. Like I was just, it was like all of this like space available to like just be, myself, even though I've like always felt like I've, been that way, but like that holding on to that piece, and I don't know, like for me, I've like ever since I was a kid, I've had this of course, when I was a kid, I didn't have the word for it, but I've had these different points in my life where I've gone through these different phases of really contemplating, am I trans or whatnot, like many times over and over and over. And then this last time around, I was like, I'm really going to take some time and dig into this, because this is like the 5th time in my life, like since I was a teenager, even, that I can remember like trying to take that time and think about it. And I'm really going to take the time and think about it and like do the work myself. And then just like owning it has just been so amazing. For me, another way of a resilience building or sustaining has been having this community, this group of queer and trans and non-binary folks to connect with. It has just been really huge, especially with all the current mayhem in like public sphere and public life. And if I need to, sometimes it's just like whatever way I can immerse myself in queer culture, like watch some Pose or like whatever it is, that like feels really good, that has me be celebrating queerness and transness. So
I loved all of that. But again, another amazing moment. Drop what does not serve you like a hot fucking potato.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Rylie and Vanessa? Pressure's on. Gotta come up with something good. Or come up with whatever you want. It's fun. It's all good.
I know what I want. Besides cookies. I would like some cookies. Resiliency for me. It's gonna sound cheesy, but this podcast. I was having trouble pushing back against everything up until the idea for this started up. And I think that's one reason why I just jumped into it and got everything running as quickly as I did. Is the community that we've built here, and knowing that we're helping people just absolutely bolsters me so much. And having our allies like Tara and Lisa here, just that just reminds me that we really are not alone. There are people who support us. So just transcending humanity has been what has kept me going.
Okay, that's fantastic as well. Find your community, find your people. All of these people on my screen are my chosen family. They're my people. Vanessa reached out to me on LinkedIn and dragged me into this, and I cannot thank her enough. I spend more time in the community that she's created than I do any fucking where else. That's you, girl. Thank you. How about you, Rylie?
I kind of think I fall a little bit of what everybody else does in a way. Like I like immersing myself into queer culture things. So like I'll sit down and binge watch Pose as well. I'll sit down, listen to like some Tegan and Sarah if I'm, wanting to listen to music, something like that. Even like, back in the day, especially when Tumblr was still an active state, that was absolutely one of my my recharge spots, because like I would get so immersed into, there's so much trans joy in like the fuck yeah FTM's Tumblr page. And just be like, oh my God, we're all living our best lives. And then I'd completely forget that the real world exists.
Yes. That's back to our representation point from earlier, right? Rylie, like seeing yourself out there and joining that community You know, it's such a big driver in how we get back on the horse, how we ultimately, because the resiliency is really about taking care of yourself. You've got to recharge. You can't be out there banging on the doors if you don't have the energy to do it. And Rylie, you're right. Representation is one of the most important things. And for me, it was a huge early sustainer.
It's survival.
Yes. Just knowing, I didn't know you, Rylie, at the time, but just having had the opportunity to have seen you would have been a soothing balm. Like, wow, there's someone out there who's doing what I'm afraid to do. And that's amazing. I love that.
One of my favorite moments where I had that kind of representation was actually my first year of college. And we had, various like people who would come to campus and whatnot. And we had a particular person who came to campus, and I can never freaking pronounce his last name right, and I feel so bad. But his first name's Rocco, and he's actually a very prominent transmasculine figure in especially in the early 2000s, where he was putting out a quarterly magazine, and it was called Original Plumbing. I don't know if you, yeah. Oh my goodness, it was such a great magazine, guys. Like, it was such a good magazine, and he was also, he kind of jokes about it now a little bit, but like he was also like a traveling like rap performer, like a spoken word.
Oh wow.
Rap spoken word genre. And oh my goodness, and that was actually why he was at my campus, was he was performing like that.
Mhm.
Like at that point, like he was just a little over 10 years on testosterone, and I was like just about to hit my 1 year, and like just having that moment of like, I can't fathom being at 10 years, and now here I am at 10 years, and
There
I'm
you are.
what is life?
What is life, man? That is so great. I love the idea of a magazine named Original Plumbing for trans people. Wow. Okay. This has been an amazing episode. We have beat this topic to death today in the best possible way. So a reminder, this is a monthly topic for us. We're going to come back to it every month. Whether it's the first, second, or third, fourth week of the month, I don't know. We just do it when we feel like doing it every month. So if you've got some trans joy you'd love to send to us to share, I would love to read that out for you. So please reach out to us. I think we've got, Vanessa has all the handles and things out there.
There's a
everywhere.
contact form on our website, transcendinghumanity.com.
I should know that. Yes, there's a contact form. Please send it to us. We would love to hear from you all. Just got to say, I love all of you. So thank you so much for joining me on this tonight. You are all the best people. I am so glad to have you in my family. And to all of those out there watching us, hit that like and subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Follow us from wherever you're consuming this podcast, and tell your friends. This goodness needs to spread. We'll see you next week for episode 11. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.